You can be smart, you can be hardworking, you can be even spiritual and still die broke. And do you know why? Because you were trained to chase money, but not the skills to make money chase you. And it's a whole world of difference. The educational system taught us for all our lives to chase money, but never taught us the skills to make money chase us. From the beginning of the world, the ancients knew that money was not meant to be chased, but everybody in the world has been programmed to chase money. And because of it, it's a red ocean, dangerous planet, because everybody is chasing money. And in the process, we're trampling on one another. People are stealing, people are hurting other people, people are double crossing other people, because you were trained to chase money, but you were not given the skills to make money chase you. You were trained to pass exams, but not to create value. You were taught to memorize formulas, but not to read people. You were taught to save, but not to sell. And today, many of us find it very difficult to sell. Yet, no money is made anywhere in the world until somebody sells something, until something is sold. So here is the truth you have been avoiding. The world does not reward effort. It rewards performance under pressure. The world does not reward effort. It rewards performance under pressure. And that performance is built on soft skills. The invisible tools of transformation. That's what is built on, soft skills. And then chasing money, pursuing money is hard skills, but there are some soft skills. The very tools that ancient merchants used to build wealth. Before we had banks, before we had bitcoins, before there were budgeting apps, these soft skills were there and they thrived. So you've been taught to work a job. Now it's time to work your destiny. Who is ready to work their destiny here? Please type it in the comment section. Remember, I always want engagement so that I know that you're with me. Okay, are you with me? Type yes in the comment section. So let me show you the 7 soft skills that made ancient merchants rich and still work today. And then you might be asking me, why are you talking about ancient merchants? Because I have had this obsession with how things worked in ancient Persia, in the ancient Babylon, in the ancient Jewish nations, in ancient Syria, because there was so much commerce going on around those areas, the Middle East, in the ancient world, so much commerce going on. Even up to today, we still hear about Persian rugs. And then we were reading about Persian rugs like 4,000 years ago. Babylonian garments. Remember the story in Joshua. The story is told about Achan, who took some of these very expensive, I believe it was Babylonian clothes, and gold and jewelry, and hid in his tent, and that cost his life and the life of his family. So there have been all these things. I've been fascinated by how the ancient people created wealth, even by how my ancestors in my village, the elders, created wealth. And it's just so different from how we pursue wealth today. But the principles, those soft skills, never change. They are very timeless, and they still work today. So I'm going to be telling you about the 7 soft skills, and I'm going to be telling you how they apply even to our pursuit of wealth. So these are the lost scrolls of wealth I rediscovered for you. Number 1 soft skill is clarity. As I mentioned it, type it in the comment section. It's clarity. Okay? Ancient merchants didn't just hustle. They moved with intention. There was clarity. They were clear on what they were trading. They were clear on who needed it and how it fit into their long game. I still remember, in fact, not too recent history, like in the 50s, in the 60s. That's not ancient. But I remember that because of my father, my grandfather, and the stories about around my uncles and things like that. I had a very wealthy uncle. In fact, he was the one I was named after in my village. This man was not educated, the so-called Western education. He did not read, he did not write. But this man used to travel from our village all the way to Port Harcourt, all the way to Macaulay in those days. Different people who spoke different languages. This man would load up his lorries filled with yam and travel. We didn't have the roads that we had today. All those places, he was very clear. And I used to be amazed. How did he, from that village, discover the markets in Port Harcourt, discover the markets in Macaulay, and all these places that he traded? So the ancient merchants were very, very clear. All right. So type in the comment section, vagueness is expensive. So many of us are very vague about our financial goals. Okay. And if your financial goals are blurry, your results would also be blurry. And many of us have been getting blurry results in our financial lives because we are not very clear. So you can't manifest wealth that you can't describe. And that is important. You've got to have clarity. So ask yourself, in implementing this soft skill, ask yourself, what do I want my money to do for me? What lifestyle am I refusing to die without? It's important. In fact, for my one-on-one coaching clients, there's an exercise I always want to have them do at the beginning. So if you're going to coach with me one-on-one, as a small business owner, as an entrepreneur, as an executive, I always have people do this one exercise. And I would like you to do that exercise. Would you like to know that exercise? It's a clarity exercise. I have them define what success means to them. That is the first step to succeeding financially. The first step to building generational wealth is to define what success means to you. So everybody type in the comment section, ask it like a question. What does success mean to me? Everyone. I need you to interact. I need you to engage with me. Type it in the comment section. Anne is watching from Birmingham, Alabama. Anne, always a pleasure to have you. Yes. Okay, Doris, Stella, Adeola, good evening. Enyi Peter, yes. Everybody, I would like that interaction. Type it in the comment section. What does success mean to me? What does success mean to me? And of course, under success, you have subcategories. What does financial success mean to me? What does relationship success mean to me? I had to define all those things. I had to define what success meant to me. And that's what made me financially successful. Because financial success, you can't pursue what you have not defined when you don't have clarity. And then also the problem with not defining exactly what success means to you is that you will be forced to be looking at other people. You're going to be looking at your neighbor's cars. You're going to be looking at your neighbor's house. How tall his building is, the kind of interior decoration, how his lawn is. And you're going to be frustrated. You're going to be stressed. And you will never have contentment. But you see, when you define what success means to you and you are clear about it, then you're focused. And then you're not looking around you, what does my neighbor have, what does my neighbor not have? You're not comparing. You're not comparing your husband with another person's husband because you've defined what success means to you. You can't hit a target that you can't see. And most people never define their target. So define what success means to you. Like in my own case, I had a list of what success meant to me because I want to be able to tell when I'm succeeding, not just when I have succeeded. I need to be able to wake up or at the end of the day to ask myself, have I succeeded today? So I have to have some metrics, I beg your pardon, on how to know that I am successful. So I am successful. When I define what success meant to me, success meant to me loving my wife, being faithful to one woman all my life. Success meant to me that I was going to marry chaste and that I was going to remain faithful to one woman all my life. But you see, that's my success. And it might not be someone else's definition of success. Because for some men, that's not their definition of success. And I don't judge you. But for me, that's mine. So while you're there, you're riding your Lamborghini, you're living in your big mansion and things like that. But see, I've been married to one woman for 30 years and I've been faithful to her. That's success to me. Success to me is raising my children to be very godly and very, very responsible citizens. That's success for me. Success to me means that I can sleep well at night and not be bothered because I'm owing someone money or because I've defrauded somebody and they are after me. Just having peace of mind. Success means that I can eat what I want to eat. Success means for me that I have good health, that I have energy, that in my 60, I'm going to be 60 in a couple of months, that I have the energy of a 17-year-old person at 60. That's success for me. So you see, it's personal. It's personal. So what success means to you is not what it means to me. So I am a very happy man because I am successful. Why? Because I've defined what success means to me and I'm seeing it. I'm seeing my precious wife, loving her. Like we just got married yesterday. Healthy. I can't remember when last I spent a day in the hospital. That's success to me. So I cannot compete with you. I cannot envy you because your success is not my success. Is this making sense to somebody? Type in the comment section. If this is valuable to you, type value, yeah. And then if you haven't done a love for this session, if you haven't actually liked it or subscribed, please do so. Do so. It does help a lot. So soft skill number one is clarity. That's soft money skill number one. Soft skill number two is adaptability. Adaptability. So you can type it as I'm mentioning it. You see, for the ancient merchants, markets shifted, trade routes collapsed. You can see what's going on right now in the trade route in the Gulf of, what is that Gulf now? Where the Houthis are attacking the shipping lines and vehicles and ships and all that, and then America has gone to open up. So there were always differences in trading routes. Things changed. Empires rose and fell, but the rich people didn't panic. The rich people didn't panic. They pivoted. So adaptability is a soft skill, and many of us don't have it. When things change, when governments change, we are saying, oh my goodness, Trump is in power right now. The economy is going to collapse and that and that and that. The Democrats need to come and fix things. Then the Democrats come, everything is collapsing. And you're always, sort of pegging your growth or pegging your success to whatever government is in power. But then rich people don't think that way. Let's think about Apple, for instance. Apple was founded by Steve Jobs and maybe some other, is it Steve Wozniak or something? And that was in the early 70s. Do you know how many governments that have come and go? So the Americans in the comment section can tell us how many governments have come and gone since Apple. Well, I think I will remember Jimmy Carter. I will remember Reagan. I will remember after Reagan, you had, I believe it was Clinton. And then, after Reagan, I think it was George Bush. And then there was Clinton. And then there was George Bush, the junior. And then there was Obama. for 8 years, and then there was Trump, and then there was Joe Biden, and now there is Trump. And Apple is still there, one of the most valuable companies on earth, because they are adaptable. They do not tie their growth or their movement or their destiny to the government of the day, like so many people do. So, he who clings to the past dies in the future. Adaptability. So the ancients knew, he who clings to the past dies in the future. So they changed products, they changed their paths, they changed strategy. Modern wealth requires exactly the same thing. If you don't update, you'll be outdated. We have seen the AI move, like AI revolution. And then so many of you are still by the shore. You have not plunged in. And then the ship is leaving you by. You've got to adapt. Things are never going to be the same the way it was in the 1970s or even in the 1980s. So adaptability is a soft money skill. Skill number 3, value creation. The ancient wealth came not from products, but from problems solved. That was why when we were recruiting companies, to attend the Stanford Seed program, I was a business facilitator, business advisor for the Stanford University program in Africa. And one of the primary intake questions was, what problem does your business exist to solve? Until you can define that, you're not going to be wealthy. Wealth is just going to be events, just isolated events instead of a system. So if you solve pain, you will never beg again. I like that rhyme. If you solve pain, you will never beg again. If you solve problems, you will never run out of money. And so, if people are still suffering around you, there's wealth you haven't tapped. There's pain that you haven't uncovered in order to design a solution to that pain, because you're rewarded for solving problems. Many of you in Nigeria right now are complaining about internet connection. Everywhere, the internet is just horrible everywhere. Even in this estate where I am right now, we have subscribed for the so-called broadband internet for 2 months since last week. And then we have been without internet for 5 days. I'm hotspotting. It's painful and everybody is complaining. And then many of us have 4 or 5 different internet providers. And yet we suffer. So if there is pain around you, that is wealth, hidden wealth. And so in my country home, where I also operate from, what did I do? I had to buy Starlink. So Elon Musk is in America solving problems for people in Nigeria here. And then nearly 100,000 people have subscribed to Starlink. And it works. And then every month, when I subscribed, did you know how much I was paying every month? 159,000 naira, because they didn't have the residential or the whatever, so they had only the business plan. 159,000 Nigerian naira. That's like average of two people's salary in subscribing to Elon Musk's Starlink. Why? Because it works. Because it works. And then you can multiply 100,000 people by 159,000 every single month. Somebody can, if you have your calculator, you can do that math. You do 159,000 times 100,000. Just do it. Somebody, if you have your calculator, put it there. That is how much a guy sitting somewhere in America is making from this country. and it's still growing. Why? Because he solved a big problem. So that is soft skill, problem solving. Number four, we've done 3 right now. The number 4 soft skill that ancient people used to build incredible wealth that still work today is focus. Okay, type it, focus. They didn't just scatter effort. They did one trade, they had one route, they had one skill that they mastered deeply. In fact, I've been studying in recent times the Arab trade. There's a whole lot to learn, from the Arabian history and trade. Not long ago, when I went to Zanzibar in Tanzania, for those of you who have been in Zanzibar in Tanzania, you see there's a very, very big, huge, thriving spice trade, spice and perfume trade in Zanzibar. And they had their root in the Arab trade. And there's a particular place I buy my oil when I've been to Zanzibar a couple of times. So there's a particular store there that I buy my oil. Okay, like this what do you call this? What do you call it? Essential oils. This is actually one of them. I bought this from Zanzibar. There's a particular store, I go there. They are owned by Egyptians. The man and his wife in that store in Zanzibar told me that they were the 4th generation of the people doing that. That's one thing that they've been doing, 4th generation from Egypt. So they make this, and so they have focus. They had focus. They were not scattering their efforts. And that's the problem that you and I have. We're handling so many things. We're into too many things. And we have a trail of abandoned projects, abandoned ideas, abandoned strategies, abandoned everything, abandoned products behind us. We start something, we never finish it. And then we jump into another thing. No, the ancient merchants didn't do that. So you scatter your energy, you scatter your return. And that is what's going on. You scatter your energy, you scatter your return. And that's why, just like this Zanzibar Egyptian family, it also happened like in my village. I still remember. I'm 60. So I still remember as a young child, 7, 10, these businesses were run as families, as family businesses. So it's like each family had something they were given and they stuck to it. I think the so-called educational system that we have destroyed a lot of things. And at that time, like in my village, everybody, poor people were few. Poor people were few. Growing up, they were poor people, but they were few and they were known. Because every family is either your family is blacksmith. And I saw how the man, the blacksmith, will be forming the hoe and the farm implements that we use in those days. And his son will be there. His sons will be there watching, doing the same thing. And then at the time the father dies, the sons take over. I saw that happen. Then school came and destroyed everything. And then they will leave that old man. That's why right now, in fact, that the place I grew up, there's no blacksmith anymore. Because everybody left their family trade and went to school. Then you go to school, come out, carry CV around looking for somebody to employ you. Meanwhile, if you had continued with the family tradition, because you see, we confuse education with going to school. So now you've gone to school and come out and hunger is punishing you because you don't have anything doing. I knew a family, their own trade was cola nut. Cola nut. for 4 generations, and in their 5th generation right now. It was kola nuts. And kola nuts are very symbolic in my culture. And so it's a spiritual product. And so there was always demand for it. And if you went to those people, they had the science of everything about kola nuts. There were kola nuts you use for wedding. They are different from the kola nuts you use for burial. They are different from the kola nuts you use to go to greet the king. And this family knew it. It was their trade. They kept it. And they focused on it. And they were wealthy. They were rich. Until everybody left their own trade and started scattering forces. So your breakthrough isn't far. It's just buried under your distractions. Okay? You are not focused. Every empire started with one city, deeply understood and ruthlessly saved. Soft skill number 5, discipline. You don't build wealth by what you make. I have been stressing this in my previous video. Wealth is not your income. It's not what you make. You build wealth by what you keep. Even just having that shift, understanding that matters a lot. I'm telling you the things I started, I'm doing. I'm telling you exactly what I'm practicing. I can tell you, like, this week, how much investment. Like, I invested every single day this week. Every single day I invested. And then there are some very amazing buying opportunities. Some of you in the Financial Fitness Challenge, I've shared it with you. Buying opportunities in the market right now. I have been accumulating this week, every single day. Today, I sent money to my investment account twice. As I was finishing, I saw an opportunity, so I had to send money there again. I invested every day this week because I came to realize, which I didn't know when I was working, doing my 9 to 5, feeling rich because I was working with Shell, then Chevron, and then back to Shell. Lots of money, traveling around the whole place, giving allowances, travel allowances, ESTA codes, like we call it in Nigeria, and things like that. And by the time I left, I wasn't wealthy. I will not repeat that mistake, because wealth is not what you make, it's what you keep. And I'm keeping a lot of it. I'm keeping a lot of it. So ancient merchants stored grain during plenty. And then you remember Joseph and Pharaoh. During the 7 years of plenty, they stored grains. He built silos. Ancient technology. Silos that could preserve. Today, we use chemicals and insecticides. But we need to go back and find out how those people built silos, grain cities, and weevils didn't attack. Has it occurred to you? I ask lots of questions. I probe a lot. How were they able to do it? They didn't use chemicals. They didn't discover petrochemicals. They didn't discover oil at that time, the time of Pharaoh and Joseph. But these people built this thing, and they lasted for years. So merchants stored grain during plenty. They didn't consume all they earned. They planned for crisis before crisis ever came. The poor people eat their seed. The wise plant it. It is impossible for you to grow wealth, much more generational wealth, when you eat your seed. There are people who never create their freedom fund, that 10% freedom fund, and you consume everything you earn. So where is the wealth going to come from? Okay? So if your wallet is always empty, it's not just income, it's impulse. Do you want me to unpack that? If your wallet is always empty, it's not just income. It's not that you don't have enough income. It's that you have a lot of impulse. You buy everything that you see. Okay, no delayed gratification. So discipline is the bridge between talent and transformation. So the ancient merchants had discipline. They didn't consume everything. They practice delayed gratification. Soft money skill number 6, communication. Communication. They didn't just trade, they talked. Communication is so important. I have a book, I don't know if it's here or in my home village library. That's a book I would encourage you to look for. So I think it's in my village library. That's a book I will encourage you to look for. The title of the book is Words That Sell. You can type it, somebody can type it so that you remember. If you just go to Amazon, just look for Words That Sell. Words are literally money. Okay? You can't sell what you can't say. You can't scale silence. So, the mastered language, the mastered trust, the mastered storytelling. That's how the Chinese will leave China to go to America to sell tea, like in the early 1900s or early 1800s. They will go there. How did they communicate? They had to master communication, because if you can't, master that, you can't sell. So whether you're pitching to clients or leading teams, words print wealth. In fact, type that in the comment section. Words print wealth. And this is why one of the most rewarding skills in modern marketing is copywriting. And then, so if you read, like I read them a lot, and I have their books, people like David Ogilvy, people like Gary Halbert. There was a time I had everything Gary Halbert had written. People like, what's his name? Is it Sugarland? So many of them, amazing. Particularly Robert Collier. Then there's this other guy, Eugene Schwartz, who wrote The Science of Something. Okay, I've read and listened to these guys a lot. These were guys like David Ogilvy, who used words to sell billions and billions of dollars. So if you want to be wealthy, you've got to master communication. You've got to be able, to master communication, both verbal and non-verbal communication. Okay? Okay. All right, so we have a troll here that if you just give me a moment, I'm going to remove him here, okay? All right, okay. Okay, very good. So, communication. You can't sell what you can't say. You can't scale silence, all right? So, money flows in the direction of clarity and conviction. So you see how they're all tying together right now. You have clarity, and then your communication skills project conviction. And then with that conviction, you are able to build business or to build your wealth. The 7th skill, number 7, is resilience. My, oh my, when you read the stories of these merchants, their ships sank. Pirates attacked them. Deals collapsed. Governments changed. Wars happened. But what happened? The merchants, after the war, they will still rebuild. After the war, they still rebuilt. Mercedes-Benz started in early 1900s, like 1901, 1902, or thereabout. And then, just within a couple of years, there was the First World War. And then, while that was going on, as they were rebuilding, the Second World War also happened. I mean, right at their, like we say in this particular place, right at their doorsteps. But Mercedes-Benz is still there today because of resilience. So resilience is more than a bounce back. It's a decision to rise every time. Many people did not build their wealth until later in their lives. And of course, everybody talks about the Kentucky Fried Chicken man. He is one of so many people who just, like they say in my village, that whenever you wake up is your morning. So some people build early, some people never start building. Like myself, I'm starting in my 50s. And there are some people who start in their 60s and they're able to build incredible wealth. And the amazing thing about, so they never give up. Some people start in their 70s. Because wealth is not about number. And it's not necessarily about bank account. And that's why I said it's important for you to define what success means to you. Wealth, for me, it's not money. Wealth to you is not necessarily money. It's purpose. It's your unfolding. It's your, what did Maslow call it again? What did Maslow call it? It's your actualization. That is what wealth is. Wealth is the joy that comes from creating, from exercising your talent and your gift. Wealth is the joy that I get knowing that at the time I'm dying, I'm not going to die carrying stuff inside me that I should have served the world, that I should have given the world, that I didn't. That's wealth. Wealth is my desire to die empty. And by the time I'm done and I'm dying, there's going to be a lot of things I have left behind. These videos will probably still be here for another 100 years. And who knows, it may not even be for you. It might just be somebody else 50 years down the line, 100 years after I've gone. And then somebody is watching this and then saying, just like we read about all these people, Socrates and all these people in history, we still read about them today. We hear about Leonardo da Vinci and all these people. We read Shakespeare's work and then we are, wow, who knows, 500 years, somebody might actually discover this and it might help their generation. That is wealth. Wealth is not money. Wealth is not your wallet. It's not your bank account. So when you understand it that way, then you don't get bothered if you're 50, in your 50s like me, about to turn 60, or if you're in your 60s or 70s, it doesn't matter. Because wealth is unfolding what is inside you. And it is in the purpose, it's in the process of living out your purpose, serving people, sharing what is in you, that the money now comes. Because the money must come. Money flows toward a purpose. Money flows from service. As you are serving people, as you are giving generously, money is coming. Okay, so every day I'm doing this free. That's what people pay me for. I take my time. I do this for you. But sometimes I just get a call from nowhere, like today. Hey, somebody wants you to do this for 2 days, and this is what they're paying. Thousands of dollars. So that's wealth. Okay? So resilience is now what you build, knowing that even if you fail, you are in your 40s, you still haven't made it, in quote, like we say, then be resilient. Pick up yourself. Some people have literally given up at 50, in their 50s. I've met men who just gave up because they feel that their earning years are behind them and that they cannot earn again. Who told you? If you're in your 50s, your best earning years are ahead of you because you've accumulated such wisdom, such soft skills, that if you're only willing to be resilient, willing to venture, to be courageous a little bit, to pursue an idea, you can amaze yourself. You can serve the world. You can amaze yourself. If you're putting out things out there, you're in your 50s and then you're sharing your wisdom, you do not know who is listening. One day you just get a call from somewhere in Denmark, from somewhere in Sweden. One gentleman that I follow, I respect very much because he's quite knowledgeable when it comes to investing. He was just saying the other day when I joined this program. People in Sweden. He is based in Port Harcourt, but people in Sweden, have called him. He's getting calls from all over the place because every day he's on TikTok live sharing his wisdom. And I think that gentleman should be in his 40s, maybe like mid 40s or something. So your best earning years are still ahead of you. If you're in your 40s and your 50s, don't give up. Be resilient, okay? Your bank account can recover, but can your mind recover? That is what resilience is. It's not difficult to recover, for bank account to recover. Just borrow money or, whatever, and then the bank account swells again. Or you get some client, giving you an order. But what about your mind? That's where the resilience is, okay? Now, so I've given you these 7 soft skills. And then you'll be wondering, like me, why were you not taught this in school? Okay, because soft skills are hard to test. They are hard to scale and hard to commercialize in the classroom. That's why you can only build it through mentorship, through things like this, But it's the soft skills that separate broke brilliance from quiet millionaires. I don't know whether it has also amazed you like it has amazed me that many times the most successful people, financially successful people that you know, are not the people who had first class in the university. Have you seen that? Many of the people who had first class in the university, you don't hear about them. Like in my university, I hardly hear about those first class people. My secondary school, all those people, who, well, whatever. I was actually one of them, so I'm an outlier. But it's not really that. Because what separates broke brilliance, that is those first class people, very, very highly academic and intelligent, book-wise, but they are broke. What separates them from the quiet millionaires, those who had passed and third class, but they are very, very serious big boys, millionaires? It is the soft skills. Okay, so degrees give you information, but these skills give you transformation. And it's a whole world of difference. The degrees you had gave you information, but what I've shared with you, the 7 soft skills, give you transformation. And if you don't learn them, no course or job will ever feel like enough. So you weren't undereducated, you were miseducated. Okay, so most people fail at wealth not for lack of opportunity, but for lack of the internal system to turn opportunity into ownership. You do not have this internal system. The opportunities are everywhere, and there have never been more opportunities in our world, ever in the history of the universe, as there are opportunities today. I'm looking for my other cell phone. The power in this thing, the opportunities here. In fact, this phone I'm holding here, America has been the superpower for decades now, especially since after the Second World War. So they've been tossed around, but America is unarguably the superpower in the world. Now, in 1960, I believe it was Kennedy, who was president at that time, or in 1970, the American president did not have 0.1% the computing power that I have in my hand in this cell phone. He did not have the kind of speed of information, the most powerful man in the world, as you have in your hand. And then you are there complaining that there are no opportunities. When there are little teenagers using this to make thousands, tens of thousands of dollars every single month. And then all you're using this is to take selfies and say, oh, me, me, and me, I'm posting on Instagram. Stay hungry, stay foolish. Okay? So, but if you're serious about applying the principles, all these 7 principles to your money, your business, and your peace, join the Financial Fitness Challenge. Okay, so that's my global mentorship community where we don't just talk about money, we rebuild your wealth software. Because when you build the software takes care of your wealth. But many of us don't have wealth software. We are running scarcity software. And this software is just responding to all kinds of things, going on in the world, just being carried away. But when you have a solid wealth software, it doesn't matter what is happening in the world. It doesn't matter who is the governor. It doesn't matter who is the president of your country. It doesn't matter who the Pope is when you have your internal software for wealth. And that's what we do. So I'm going to give you a WhatsApp number. Type send me enrollment details and send it to WhatsApp number +234 8088 000 111. So let me give you the WhatsApp number again. +234 8088 000 111. Send me a message and say, send me enrollment details. And I'll send you the enrollment details. And then once you pay, you will receive a link to join the mentorship group. This might be the most important financial step that you're taking this year. Don't just hustle harder, become someone wealth naturally flows to. All right, so let me look at your comment sections and see what questions you have for me, and then we can take the next 3 to 5 minutes to answer questions before we call it an evening. And if you still have a question on what we have shared today, please go ahead and type it in the comment section and I could get to it. Okay, Onyi Davis says, how do you overcome fear? Very good question. I like the way somebody described fear. False evidence appearing real. For me, I made peace with my mortality. Nobody's going to leave this place alive. Nobody's going to leave the planet alive. So you might as well be alive when you are alive. There's enough time to be dead. And when you are dead, you're going to be dead. And not at least aware of this plane, even though you're not going to be totally dead. That's not the end of it when you die. That's a different conversation. But the thing is, you're going to die. So why don't you just face it? I believe it was Shakespeare that said that cowards die many times before their death. And I tell you, many people are actually dead while they are alive because fear kills you. The Bible said that fear has torment. And do you know what psychologists have discovered? And you can check the studies online. That over 98% of the things that we are afraid of never happen. So the best way to kill fear is to do that thing that you're afraid of. There's no course in the university to attend. There's even no advice. Just do it. That's what I've done. You do it, and then you discover that you don't die, okay? So it's a very excellent question. Okay, what else do we have here? Okay, so you're still asking the same question. Fear is holding the person down. You've got to break your terror barrier. You've got to really break your terror barrier. All right, let me see if I can give you a framework for dealing with fear, the way I dealt with fear. Now, when I was working with Shell the second time, it was a great job, great career filled with all kinds of perks. I had a vehicle, an official vehicle. I was given official money to buy official vehicle, and then which the company, they paid for the gas. They paid for the gas every single month. And we had generator, we had all kinds of things, total health, insurance for every member of my family. Best medical care you can think about, you can get anywhere in the world. And then for Shell, if there was an accident or something and it involved flying you out to America, to Peru, to UK, Shell will bear the cost. They did that. We had security. We had some hot numbers. Like if you were in a particular situation and then you press that hot number, the police network in that area, no matter where it is in the country, will be activated because the Shell staff was in danger. And then I was thinking about leaving that kind of job. I was thinking about leaving that kind of job in this kind of economy. Why? Because I loved the job, but I felt that my life was much more than just waking up, go to that place, do the same work, interact with the same people and come back. I wanted to see the world beyond Shell. Shell was the biggest thing at that time. But I felt, no, this is just one space. I want to see the world. And that meant I had to leave the company. But it was terrifying. But at the same time, so what I did while I was in Holland, I did an exercise that helped me deal with my fear. And then this could probably help you. So what I did was, I took my journal, drew a line. First of all, what I did was, I asked myself, what were the 100 things I wanted to achieve before I died? So I'm trying to deconstruct your fear, to give you a framework to deconstruct your fear. Because by the time you deconstruct it, you find that there was nothing to be afraid of. So I made a list of the 100 things I would like to accomplish before I died. Then the second thing I did was, okay, if I stayed in Shell versus if I left Shell. So if I stayed in Shell for the next 10 years, what were going to be the pros and cons? I wrote down all the pros and cons of leaving Shell, and of course, including all this fear that I might not succeed in business, that I might become bankrupt and bankrupt the family. I put all those things, and I might never get, the satisfaction, the kind of earnings and all that I was getting. I wrote all those things, the pros and cons. The pro is that leaving Shell would allow me to engage more in these 100 things I wanted to accomplish before I died, because I found that if I worked in Shell, I will never do those things. I will end up having good money. I will end up sending my children to study abroad. I will end up building a big house in the village. But I would die like incomplete, because that's not what success meant for me. Then on the other column, I said, what would happen if I left Shell? I wrote the pros and cons of leaving Shell. Like I took a 10-year window. So I just imagined, what's it going to be like if I stayed? What's it going to be like if I left? You've got to engage your imagination. That's why God gave you imagination. When I looked at both, when it was written down, I saw that staying in Shell was a risk. And I also saw that leaving Shell was also a big risk in 10 years. And so I had to choose my risk. So I was asking, okay, which risk will lead me more in the direction of a fulfilled life? Because the 100 things, I asked myself, what are the 100 things that if I accomplish them, the day I'm dying, I will die with a smile on my face and say, yes, this was a life worth living. By the way, mysteriously, what I'm doing now was one of the things I wanted to do before I died. Reaching out and talking to people all over the world. I saw myself speaking to 2 billion people every single month. 2 billion people, just influencing, helping, teaching, And here we are today. And I did that exercise in 2007. That was how I dealt with my fear. So don't carry it in your head. Write things down. What is it I'm afraid of? What action do I need to take to deal with this fear? What's the worst case scenario? Worst case scenario. So always think about what's the worst that could happen. So I told myself the worst that could happen was that I was going to bankrupt the family, and then we'll go become poor, and then my children will never be able to have the kind of education that I gave them. That was the worst that could happen. Then I made peace with the worst that could happen. Then I went in there, and voila, today, okay? All right. Yeah, and I like so Anne says, do the thing you fear, and the death of fear is certain. Fantastic, okay? Michael said, you should define your why and focus on it. That's what helped you. Very good. That also helps. So Oyi Davis, so I hope that helps, okay? Alrighty. How do I have personal interaction with you? Blessing, the easiest way is the mentorship group, is to join the mentorship group, and then from there, you can consider one-on-one, because one-on-one with me is quite pricey. It starts from $500 a session. Okay. Grace Elizabeth said, you seem very wise. It's my first time on your channel. Thank you very much, Grace. Please do subscribe. Okay. Michael, so that quote was, fear means false evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real for fear. Ado Asante says, determination and consistency is key. Very good. All right. Okay. Ariline Braddock, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes, so that's very uplifting. So Ariline says, bless you for seeing a bigger future. Absolutely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been such a wonderful evening. And so I do hope you all have a fantastic weekend. And then whatever happens, keep showing up. Share this with other people. Do like it and do subscribe if you haven't. It does help the algorithm to show this to a lot more people. So if you believe that this has been very valuable, please do share it and then do tell others about the channel. And until I see you again on Monday evening, same time, keep showing up, because you never know what's coming your way next. And you have a wonderful weekend.